What is up, my gypsies, tramps, and thieves? Today, as you can tell by that pun, I am going to be reviewing for you the brand new pre-Broadway musical that just had its first preview in Chicago, the Cher Show. Okay, so I have to confess, I am a huge Cher fan. I have a lot of Cher memorabilia that you do not see in here because it's just all in other parts of the thing. I have a Cher poster over here, but I'm not moving the camera to show you that. Big Cher fan. I love her so much. So when they announced that this show was coming to Chicago, I freaked out. I was like, oh my god, this is everything I need in life. So I also own two Cher shirts that I just decided not to wear for this review because it just didn't feel necessary. Okay, so I saw the first preview and the second preview on Tuesday and Wednesday night, and I'm filming this on Friday, so it's been about a day since I last saw it. So I was originally gonna go to the first preview, opening night, and closing night. I'm now not gonna be able to go to opening night, as far as I know, but I'll still be going to closing night, so I'll see it when it ends as well. But I wanted to do this now because I think it's really important to talk about in terms of the Broadway community and in the Cher fan community. So the Cher Show is based on the life of Cher, or the goddess of pop, if you will, gosh, how to say it? It's done as in a variety show setting, or like how her and Sunny's show used to be and how her show used to be back in the 70s. So that's like the general styling of it, and the show uses over 35 songs of Cher's and a couple others as well. And it stars, I'm gonna get this out so I say every name right, because I'm not gonna do this to people again. It stars Stephanie J. Block, Teal Wicks, and Michaela Diamond as Cher. It's three of them playing Cher, so it's basically the babe Cher, which is like late 60s, early 70s Cher, which is like 70s, late 70s, early 80s, and then not a diva Cher, I think, or is it star Cher? I think that's what she's referred to. And wow. Wow, I cannot tell you, like, even if you thought I was excited when they announced the Cher Show was coming to Chicago, you should have seen my face when they announced Stephanie J. Block was playing Cher. I have waited all these years of my 21 years to see Stephanie J. Block live, and she did not disappoint. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. The show also stars Jared Spector as Sonny Bono, Michael, oh god, I'm gonna butcher this, Burries as Greg Almond, and Michael Campayano, as the three men in her life. So Sonny is Jared Spector, Greg Allman is Michael, and they're both named Michael Parise, and then the guy, oh my god, I can't remember his name because Rob Camilletti was Michael Campayano. And the show also features Emily Skinner as Cher's mom, Georgia Holt, and the standby for Lady and Diva Cher is Dee Rossioli, who was also my first ever Elphaba. Represent. Okay, so let's talk about what the Cher Show does. And basically, it's the variety show, and it goes through all of Cher's, I wish I could say all of Cher's life, from the beginning until, at least from where I can tell, it ends in the 90s when Believe came out. So, gosh, I don't even know where to begin. This show has so much potential, and it's there. It's there. You see it on the stage that they are working through it. But there's a lot that is missed, I felt, in the show. Even though I still loved it, and I clearly went twice already, and I'm going to see it again, the good thing is that this is a pre-Broadway tryout, so they still are working out what they want to do, what they don't want to do, and whatnot. So that's what's great about it, is that they're still working on it, and they're still finding out what they can do with it. And what it does get right, it gets right, and some things it doesn't get wrong. It's not like oh my god, they did that. It's more like okay, I see what you wanted to do, but let's try maybe this instead. The thing that I kind of liked about it is that, like I said, it goes through all of Cher's life and it features over 35 songs, but the songs are not in chronological order of her life. So, say, like, in the Sonny and Cher era, she sings After All with Sonny, but that song didn't come out till 1989, so it doesn't, like that. Or, early in it, she sings You Haven't Seen the Last of Me, which is from 2010. Oddly enough, though, the last song on here that is, like, I guess it's the third to last, I guess you could say, is I Hope You Find It, which is from Cher's last album, Closer to the Truth, from 2013. So it's kind of like they're all kind of scattered around in the place, and that's what kind of cool. I didn't see that coming. But basically, some of the songs I felt were used. And it starts off great. So basically it begins, and Cher talks about how she wants to present her life and whatnot. And then it goes to the beginning, like with her mom and her stepdad, and then her stepdad leaves her, and everything goes up pretty well up until that point. And then Cher sings "You Haven't Seen the Last of Me" with all three of the Chers. And I felt that song, it sounded so great, like the arrangement of it, how they used it was great. I felt it was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I would have used it, in my opinion, during the 70s or before the 80s when she was struggling because she wasn't popular as much anymore. Her records weren't selling like the album Stars and the Cherished album. I know a lot, so I'm sorry if none of you will get these references, but there was a time in the late 70s when Cher was like not selling, not doing anything, and then she went to New York and really revitalized her career after that. I felt like it would have been a much better use of that song, and that's just one song. And it still goes on, and I loved the Sonny and Cher stuff. Jared Spector is spot on as Sonny Bono. He was probably one of my favorite aspects of the show, and that's going to sound weird with what I say later, but he was so good. His voice was perfect. I can't describe how great his voice sounded on these songs. And the Sonny and Cher stuff was great. When they were singing "I Got You, Babe," and like the way it just, I don't know, it was almost like the actual Sonny and Cher were there. It was so beautiful to see. And I wasn't even alive then, but I even felt nostalgic to it because it's just like, wow, that's Sonny and Cher. That's where Cher started. That's where Sonny did. And I think it details Sonny and Cher's aspects of everything that happened with them very well, except for the fact that they kind of skimp out on Chaz, their daughter then, now son. They don't really mention him at all, like, throughout it. And then they don't even, like, I'm pretty sure the first time I saw it, they mentioned that she was born. And then the second time I saw it, they cut out something that let us know that, you know, they even had her at the time. And I'm sorry, him, her, you know what I mean. And so, you know, there was that. That I felt was a little untight. But then here's the problem. They stuck with the Sonny and Cher stuff for way too long. By the end of Act 1, it was just when she decided to leave Sonny. That was it. And then they do this beautiful arrangement of Song for the Lonely, which, whoa. It was, oh God, that was epic. And then they did a performance of the 1989 version of Bang Bang, which was so good. So good. My gay heart was like, oh, I was in love. And then, so, like, basically by the end of Act 1 is what happens is, and I'm not worried about giving spoilers because this stuff already happened. So Cher left Sonny because Sonny was just not being the best husband he could be. I think that's the best way to put it. He was kind of using her. And they reconciled later in life, so that's the good thing. But by the time Act 2 begins, we're still on a little bit of the Sonny stuff. And he kept coming back and back in and back in, and it was just like, okay, we get it. Sonny's there. And then they brought in, like, the Greg Almond aspect of it, which was a very interesting story of hers, don't get me wrong. But I don't feel like they even used it all that well. They kind of don't describe how they met. And then here's the other thing that's weird. By Act 2, the variety show setup kind of gets muddled out because you're not sure if this is the show still or the actual, like, retelling of life. It's kind of confusing. And then they do this really cool arrangement of Just Like Jesse James, which I thought was cool, the way they used it. I wouldn't have thought of that per se. Well, granted, you know, these people are much more thought of. I would have never seen that coming. And then here's the thing. Sonny then appears again, and him and Greg Almond have a duet, which is Dark Lady. Now, I don't know if they thought that it's a tango too. There's like this dancer that comes out. She was fabulous. But I was also like, why are we focusing our time on a song between Sonny and Greg Almond? Was it so they could get Dark Lady in there? I don't know. I felt that while the dancing was so cool, I was like, this is the Cher Show. I understand. But it was just like the entire plot was stopped just so they could do that song. And then by the time we get into, and I should also mention that the Cher switch they're always on stage or always doing something, but they each have their own section, I should say. So basically, the young Cher, which is Michaela Diamond, did I say that right? Please tell me I said, I think I said it right, is Cher basically from the beginning of her life until mid-70s when her and Sonny go to Vegas, and they do this really cool segue into it. And then Teal Wicks comes out, and let me say, Michaela, who was great as the younger Cher, Then Teal Wicks comes out for that part up until like mid of Act 2, where it's basically she's doing the what's it called? Is it called? Yeah, Lady Cher. And I really did have to say Teal Wicks really captured that aspect of Cher, that 70s look of Cher. That was, oh my god, my hair. No, I'm sorry. That 70s look of Cher that was she got them like the bot, and her body was very much similar to Cher. So I really loved what she had done with it. And then by the time Stephanie comes on, it's like when Cher went to New York to start acting, and it was I can't tell you. I will say that none of the three actresses sound like Cher. They all kind of do. They were trying to do Cher voices, but I feel like Cher is such a distinct voice that no matter who they got, no matter what they did, it was never gonna be that what Cher sounded like per se. And Cher was a contralto, and I'm almost 100% positive that none of the three in there are contraltos. I'm pretty sure Stephanie, Teal, all them. I don't think they're contraltos, but they all captured very good performances out of them. Now, the problem that I think that this show did, I forgot to mention, then by the time Stephanie comes on, it's her relationship with Rob Camilletti, and it was nice. They did a really cool rendition of a different kind of love song that I really did like, but it felt like we were spending so much time on the men in her life. Which I didn't understand. And then by the time she realizes that she really doesn't need a man to like make herself happy, it's the end of the show. It almost kind of reminded me, I don't know if anyone saw that Lifetime movie that was about Whitney Houston that was called Whitney, but it should have been called Whitney and Bobby because it was just all about Whitney and Bobby. I felt like this kind of was like the Cher Show, also the Sonny and Cher Show, also the Greg Allman and Woman, well, that's their band name if you don't know that, never mind. So I felt like there was not enough focus on Cher herself. And I was reading a couple of like message board reviews on Broadway World, and someone mentioned that they couldn't believe that they didn't touch on how Cher was a gay icon, how Cher did all this stuff. And the more and more I think about it, the more and more I'm kind of upset about it, that there's not as much focus on what Cher did and what she's done in her career. Like there's no mention really of like the albums that she did and how they weren't selling. There's like a small line about it, but I would have liked a little more out of that. And then there's this is the other problem I have too, is that Believe is reworked into a ballad. So after Rob leaves her, she's like, why does everyone leave? And sings Believe as this beautiful ballad. And it was spot on. I could not believe how well it came out and how that sounded. Stephanie killed it. It was such a beautiful rendition of it. I was nervous at first because I was like, why are they turning one of my favorite songs into a power ballad? I didn't want that. I wanted the full out orchestral thing going on. No, I was wrong. It was perfect. I love what they did. But then they kind of still linger on about it, and her mom comes back on, and she's kind of like, you don't need a man. You love yourself. You are talented. But it doesn't, I just feel like there's so much more that they could have done with this prospect. I would have loved more. I just wanted more about Cher. I didn't want to know everything that there was to know about every man that was in her life. And you know, then I thought about it. I was like, well, is this show trying to just show more of the more intimate side of Cher? Not what we do know everything that she's accomplished, but we don't know, like, how she felt or anything. So I guess that's what they were trying to go for. But as a fan of Cher, I would have liked a little more of the, you know, what she accomplished and everything, especially with like the Heart of Stone album, the Believe album, and how Believe was the first song ever to use autotune, and how she was the first ever, she's still the oldest artist at 50 years old to ever chart at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. And even the farewell tour, they didn't make any mention of that. So it just kind of, but then here's the other problem, is that this is what I'm going to tell you. The show is still clocking at 3 hours. So... and that's with intermission. It's 3 hours exactly. By the time that I saw the second show, they had already cut 2 scenes out, which were good because they didn't really need them. They have still a lot of work to do on it, and I think they need to fine-tune what they really want the show to be about, because I did feel like it wasn't what I was expecting. And here's the other weird part about it. So the theme in it is like basically the first song you hear is a wish your heart makes by Cinderella. And so that's like Cher's like theme in her head, I guess, because like her dream is to be a star, but you never feel like Cher is as big of a star as she is in real life. You don't see that. You don't see the countless records sold. You don't see the influence she's had on every single genre of music. It doesn't come across in the way that I know it could, and that's what kind of made me upset. Because it has so much potential, and this was what bothered me, is that by the time that it ends, she sings that again, "A dream is you wish your heart makes," and then it's the big finale. But the big finale is Cher's 1971 song, or not 1971, 1979 song, "Take Me Home," from the Take Me Home album. And I don't know why that was picked as the finale, "Take Me Home." I love that song, but even in Cher's current residency, Classic Cher, it's reduced to nothing more than maybe less than a 3-minute segment. It's not what I think Cher's remembered for. It's important because it was her first big hit in a couple of years in the 70s, but it was also not her biggest hit. And then by the time we get the curtain call, we get "Believe," and they like do that. But here's the other thing about "Believe," is that you have to remember it's an electronic disco song, and when it's played with an orchestra, I wasn't loving the sound that was coming out of and this isn't the orchestra's fault, it's just like how the song was. It wasn't as much of a bop as I think I wanted it to be. But yeah, there's still so many positive things. Like the 3 actresses, spot on. I loved what they were doing. I knew none of them are gonna ever be able to like be Cher, but it's so cool that they get to do what they're doing on stage as this character, and what they bring to it, and how each one of them brings more to Cher, and how incredible they are. Stephanie J. Block is a freaking goddess. I love her so much. She is such a beautiful person, and it chills me that she still doesn't have a Tony Award. It's just wrong. And Teal Wicks, who I was so honored to see, because I know she's also one of the best Elphaba that have ever come out. So good, so good, so good. I loved everything she did. And Michaela Diamond really does embody a star Cher. I will say, though, that her Cher doesn't really sound like young Cher. But then again, like if you listen to like early Cher versus now Cher, and like how her voice has evolved, it's such a different sound and style than people are used to singing with today. And I should say also, these 3 actresses are far superior singers to Cher. I'm not going to say Cher's the best vocalist ever. So these 3 do have stronger voices. But then again, it's like they can only do, like, if they can do so much. And I feel like once the material is much more streamlined and they have a clear idea of what they want out of the Cher Show, then I'm going to put that down. There will be a much clearer vision, I think, than what they want to do. I think that they can maybe cut out a few songs, because a lot of the songs don't get fully sung. It's just like quick little things, then we're moving on to the next thing, quick little thing. Some of the songs that do get a decent amount of time are like "The Beat Goes On," what's that called? Well, I'm not going to focus on that, because that's the thing. I want to say this. Bob Mackie designed the costumes for the show, and oh, Bob, you are a genius! The costumes are so incredible. Like, if you are a big Cher fan, the "Take Me Home" outfit, the dragon looking thing, appears. The farewell tour ringleader costume appears. Her Oscar, like that giant headdress at Oscars, it appears. I was blown away. I was like, oh my god, all these. Even one of Sonny's outfits I recognized. I was in gay heaven. I was like, this, wow. And he gets his own like number, which was really cool. Wow, it was really good. I really liked all the costumes. The set is really pretty too. It really works well. I wanted to say this, like the "Believe," like when she sings the power ballad of "Believe," it's kind of like almost in a similar, like the background, like with the mirrors, it almost kind of looks like how it was in Burlesque when she's saying "You Haven't Seen the Last of Me." I'm trying to think if there's anything more I want to add, because there's so much to say, and I think by the time I see the last show, I will do another review to see how I feel. But this review is already almost at 20 minutes, so I feel like I've been here a while. Okay, so what I can say is that the Cher Show has so much potential, and they are on their way to making it there. It's not quite there yet, but does that mean it's bad? No, it's so good and it's so much fun if you are a Cher fan, no matter what. Honestly, I was thinking, I was like, how do I do a review on this when it's programmed in my little gay heart to just love this. It's just programmed like that. So I really had to go through and drill what I think can be improved upon and whatever. I wish this show nothing but the best. It really is trying something new, and I know that Donna Summer is doing that three Cher thing, or not three Cher, the three Donna thing, and I believe they stole it from the Cher Show, because I knew that that was an idea for the Cher Show for a long time, and I think Summer just was able to get there closer. But I do like Summer too, so don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, I heard that this was a much clearer way of doing it and how they interact and how it's the younger Cher and the older Cher and the middle Cher, everything. Please go see it if you have the chance. They are doing a digital lottery, which I do not agree with digital lotteries, because it should just be done at the theater, because like it should. Not everyone should be able to just enter it at the palm of their phone. But there is a digital lottery, so if you want to try and get cheaper tickets, there's that. I think that's doing it, and I know Today or Hot Tix, I think, is doing something. I'm not sure. But the tickets, you can get cheap seats in the back of the balcony or even in the dress circle. Please go see it before it goes to Broadway. It's just important to support this company who is working hard to create something new with everything that they're given. Also, I would like to say I did stage door for the show, and I met almost everyone. And I would like to say Teal Wicks, Michaela Diamond, you were so nice, so sweet, so loving, and it was an honor to meet you. And Stephanie, who I did get to meet twice, because not everyone came out the second night. She was a doll. I cannot describe how nice this woman is. Fun story. The first night I went, I had a silver Sharpie, and she stole it, which I didn't mind because it was fine. And then I was just telling someone at the stage door, like, oh, that happened last night. And one of the actors was like, oh, you should so give her shit for that. And the lady next to me mentioned it, and Stephanie like looked like she had been caught. She was like, oh, is this yours? And I was like, yeah. I was like, but you can keep it. And then I was like, but here's how you can make it up to me. You can, I guess I had the poster. I have it hung up right now, so I'm not showing it. I was like, you can sign the poster really big, and she was like, oh yeah, and so she did, and then she pretended to put the other in her face. But no, she was so nice, so sweet. Oh my god, it was so nice to meet her. I couldn't believe it. Like, everyone in the company was so sweet and so nice. I wish you guys nothing but the best, and I hope this show can really get it to where it needs to be, and that's awesome about theater. So yeah, again, the Cher Show is playing up until July 15th. Pretty sure I got that right. It's mid-July, so there's that. Go see it. It's at the Orient Theater downtown in Chicago. You will not be disappointed. You will have a good time. And trying to think of a Cher pun that I could add here. I guess I'll just say, if I could turn back time, I would see the show over and over again. So thank you guys. Have a good day.